Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond Disabilities. Today I'm joined by the lovely Vicky. Vicky, please can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Hi. My name is Victoria, but people call me Vicky. I run Actually Aspling, which is a blog. Um, I'm all over social media. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I never know how to introduce myself, but
No, that was
woo,
brilliant.
there you go.
That's lovely. Good introduction. So thank you for taking part in the podcast today. So uh, can you start by explaining your disabilities?
So I have multiple disabilities. Um, I was first diagnosed with epilepsy, then dyslexia, dyspraxia, then I was diagnosed as autistic, and then I also self-diagnosed with ME. I did see the doctor about it, and the doctor agreed with me that it is chronic fatigue, it is
Yeah.
ME, but it's not really an official diagnosis. And I'm also in the process of trying to get a referral for an ADHD diagnosis. So, yeah, there's quite a lot.
Oh, my brother's got ADHD. I've got dyspraxia and autism, and he's got epilepsy as well. And I don't have ME though, so don't
A
take.
lot of a lot of them are very like they co-occur. So
Yeah.
you can have multiple.
I know I've noticed I've not had a diagnosis or anything, but I've noticed as I've got older, I'm developing more ADHD traits. Like literally, I just have to be bounce all the time. I go from one thing to another. That never occurred when I was younger, but it just developed. I was like, I don't mind. It makes me more energetic.
I found that I see people posting things on social media and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just like, oh,
And
it's so relatable.
oh no, it's such a nice feeling to see, isn't it? Like where you can just see something and know that you're not alone. That there's other people out there. They're like, oh yeah, I might have. Like that makes much more sense now. It's good, and especially like self-diagnosis. Like I'm a believer that self-diagnosis is completely valid because it's hard enough to get a doctor to explain like which disabilities you were diagnosed first, and like what were your reactions and your family's reactions, and how it affects like your daily life.
So the first thing that I was diagnosed with was epilepsy, and that was 2013. So it was a while ago.
Yeah,
Didn't know that I was having seizures. Didn't know that they were seizures essentially.
yeah.
And I went for loads of tests and things, and my neurologist was like, "Yeah, we think you've got epilepsy. Here's some medication. Off you go." Um, it's well controlled with the medication.
Yeah.
Um, so that's good. Then in my second year of university, yeah, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and dyspraxia, both at the same time.
Oh wow.
And that was interesting because I struggle with reading. I really struggle with reading.
Yeah.
And I struggle with coordination, and I can't ride a bike very well. I can't swim very well. And
I know that
kind
feeling.
of it makes sense. And
Yeah.
I struggle with my handwriting as well. I can't write
Yeah.
properly.
I mean,
um,
thank God for computers.
yeah, yeah, that is true. And then I was diagnosed as autistic, which was the most, it wasn't surprising. It was the biggest one that made
Yeah.
the most sense. And then it was the ME referral and everything. And I think my parents have always been incredibly supportive. And I think, especially with the autism, they already knew. It was just one of those things that it was like, oh, yeah, we just knew. We've had like strategies and supports in place for you anyway. And they were really, really supportive. And my husband and my friends were all really, really supportive as well and really like welcoming. And the autistic community as well was really friendly and they welcomed
Yeah.
me with open arms, which was really, really nice. The ADHD diagnosis that I'm trying to pursue, some of my friends agree with that. My parents aren't sure. but it's one of those things that I have noticed and seems to be getting worse. So I'm going to keep chasing that one.
Oh, definitely. Keep pursuing it. You've got to do it. If you don't, no one else will they? And
Hmm.
plus, it like brings a. I imagine with the autism diagnosis, like, especially as like you were diagnosed later on, whereas I was diagnosed when I was 2, so I've just grown up with it. So it's a big contrast. Like it kind of something just clicks, doesn't it, into place? I imagine that things like throughout your life, like what was it like discovering your autism, that you are autistic, not knowing for that long period of time?
It was really difficult, especially like growing up and going through high school, because you could tell I was different. Everybody knew I was different, and I struggled a lot, but I didn't have the explanation. I couldn't go, yeah, it's because I'm autistic.
Yeah.
But everyone just saw me as weird. I mean, I am weird, but it's not because I'm autistic.
No, no.
Um,
It's good. Celebrate differences.
that's it. And
All
I think,
individual.
like I say, it was difficult because I didn't understand. And then as soon as I found out, I was like, so that makes sense now. And that's why. And it was really like eye opening. And I was like, yeah, I think I've always known.
Yeah.
But when I was diagnosed, I got the label, yes, you are autistic. And it was great. Yeah.
No, that's great. It's great to hear like you found loads of support like with the autistic community as well. Like obviously growing up with it, like we're similar ages. I think that's fair to say.
Mhm.
We didn't have like there's no such thing as Facebook and Instagram and things like that. So like we were pretty much on our own. So for the first
Mm.
20 odd years of my life, like it's literally just the little bubble, like going to school and
Yeah.
like don't know, my family was supported and I was lucky like throughout high school and primary school that they had things in place that mum had to fight for. It wasn't just given,
Yeah.
yeah, which is a shame. But now like I'm like aware of this massive autistic community and like I learned so much about like my own disabilities that I didn't know from people like you and other uh, great autistic content creators. And it's just really heartwarming to see, isn't it? We're a nice bunch.
We are, surprisingly. It's like we're all really, really nice.
I know, yeah, like compared to myths like saying, oh, people with autism don't feel emotions. It's not true. It's not true. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's a myth. We can feel emotions. They may be hard to regulate,
Yeah.
but I can certainly feel stuff.
Oh, definitely. 100%. Completely agree with that. People need to understand. So, touched on it little bit there, but what challenges did you face like growing up before you got your diagnosis? And particularly at school, like I know you didn't have a diagnosis, but did you manage to get support there?
It was really difficult because I really struggled and was behind academically. So I couldn't keep up with the work. I didn't understand it. It took me forever to process things.
Yeah.
And cognitively, I couldn't handle it. It was so overwhelming. In primary school, I got a little bit of support. I had extra lessons for like my handwriting and my maths and things like that, which were really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
In high school, I didn't get anything other than getting bullied. That was really hard
Yeah.
because I was different and I stuck out and I dressed differently. I like different music.
Yeah.
I hand flapped a
Okay.
lot and I didn't understand why I did that, but people like realized, oh, she's weird. Why is she flapping her hands? But I was regulated and it was something I needed
Yeah.
to do so I didn't become
Exactly.
overwhelmed. There's also things like making friends and stuff that I found really difficult because I didn't know how to start a conversation. I
Yeah.
didn't share the same interests as my friends, and I couldn't understand the conversations they were having because they'd go out drinking on the weekend and I didn't. So they'd
Yeah.
spend all their time talking about what they did. And of course, I didn't do that. So I didn't know what to say. And it was just really hard to make friends and keep my friends. Um, they were the sorts of things that I struggled with the most, I'd say, like the social side of things.
Yeah.
I found really confusing.
No, I definitely relate to that. Like, still now, to be honest, like, I've got, like, as I got older, I've got better at keeping friends and like realizing that just because people have like 10 friends, it doesn't mean you need to have them. That it's better to have like a small, close knit group of friends that are always there for you rather than just like being popular and like, yeah, it's hard to learn making friends, isn't it? Like, especially like, I mean, it's hard enough being a teenager anyway, but growing up like with autism and like then learning like different social cues. And I'll be honest, I still struggle with them now. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a point, well, where it won't, because it's just human interaction is confusing.
It really is. And I found that as an adult, I gravitate to and I'm friends with mostly like other neurodiverse people,
Yeah.
neurodivergent people, other autistic people. I'm I find it easier because other autistic people understand. They know that, oh, it's all right. We don't have to make
Yeah.
eye contact. Oh, it's okay. I'll give you a bit more processing time. Yeah, go on, have a stim. It's fine. It's just, it's so much easier.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I know one of my friends who's just moved to Guernsey, but when I first moved, worked in the TV industry. I got to know her and we just met randomly on Facebook. We didn't realize we literally worked a floor behind. But yeah, she hasn't got an official diagnosis, but she's 100% sure that she's autistic, just waiting for that official diagnosis. So I spent a lot of time with her, and it's just nice to have other people that know why you have to do things. Like big stimming for me is like bouncing my leg up and down. Like
Yeah.
it's just so comforting. Like she introduced me to stim toys and other things that she had throughout her life, whereas like I didn't have. Like, again, my family was supportive, but I don't know, I just didn't have them, and she helped me develop further coping strategies.
It's nice that other people accept you as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's nice to feel accepted. It's nice, like, especially like to make you feel wanted and provide that reassurance that particularly people with autism need. Really, is it? Just
Yeah. I need reassurance.
need to hold my hand up. It's not. Yeah, I know you've done like a big work on like that is not attention seeking, which all your things are really really helpful and all your like resources and slides. So
it's not attention seeking. It can be like a trauma response.
Yeah,
I went through high school with people thinking I was weird and I had to pretend to be something I'm not. And I
yeah,
really wanted people to like me and I never felt good enough. So as an adult, that is what it is. I'm always like, oh, I'm not good enough for this person. Oh, this person doesn't like me. And that is why I so often want reassurance from people. I want people to be like, yeah, you are good enough. Yeah, we are friends. Don't worry about it. It's because of my experiences as a child.
oh, absolutely. Again, completely relate to it. I was bullied throughout school, and I completely agree that it's definitely a trauma response. That it's just how, I don't want to say evolved, but you know what I mean. It's how we progressed through life. That because of the bullying and things, and because of
Yeah.
not making it that finding it easy to make friends, that it just means now we just need the occasional like, it's okay, we're friends, I'm not gonna like leave you or something like that.
Our experiences definitely shape
Yeah.
who we become.
Oh, definitely. And I think we're better people because of it. Not
Yeah.
We take on like the trauma we've had in our past and like use it to motivate us and push us like further to achieve like our goals in life. And that's why I started the podcast, like to show that people with disabilities like you don't have to be limited and that they deserve equal opportunities and that they can achieve their hopes and dreams.
Exactly. I love that.
Thank you. So next, can you, I know, again, you touched a bit upon it there. So can you talk about like how your disabilities like if they had any impact on friendships, like either in the past or now, or relationships, and if you had to like make any adjustments to each other's behavior to support the other with their disability.
Yeah, I did touch upon it, but I think my autism and being disabled and everything
Yeah.
made a huge difference, especially like in high school, because I really wanted to make friends. But when you have conversations with like neurotypical teenage girls, you don't get a chance to fully process everything. And it's really emotional. And it's like, whoa, give me a sec. But by the time that I had processed everything, they'd already moved on to something else. And I was like so lost. And it was so difficult. A lot of the things just like didn't make sense. When I left high school and went to college and everything, it got a little bit easier. And then when I went to university, I found it even easier again because
Yeah.
people were more grown up. It wasn't like you were back in high school.
No.
In terms of relationships, I found making relationships really, really hard. I struggled with it. Like, I can't flirt. I don't like dating. I'm just socially awkward. I find it so hard. So I was really lucky when I first met my husband.
Yeah.
It was just really strange, and we just like found each other, I guess. And a couple of months later, maybe a year, they got diagnosed with
Ah,
autism. So it's easier, I guess. My husband has like different traits to me, so we are like
yeah.
very different. But some of the things I struggle with, he doesn't, so he can help me with, and
Yeah.
like vice versa. So we kind of complement each other a bit, which is really nice, even though like we don't like to compromise and we argue a lot and it can be so frustrating
Yeah.
um because we're both disabled, but I guess you just make it work.
No, exactly. Oh, that's a really lovely story that you found
Mm,
out that he was disabled as well. It's really sweet. Oh,
yeah.
that's brilliant. And to be fair, I don't think any relationship is without arguments, and like you can't be like be happy all the time. Well, not happy, but you know what I mean. You can't like agree on everything all the time.
I think every relationship, whether you're like neurodivergent or not, is difficult. I
Yeah.
mean, I think being autistic just adds like an extra layer to it.
Oh no, definitely. I completely agree with that. Like past relationships, like just communication is a big thing. But obviously, being autistic, the
Yeah.
communication needs to be in black and white, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
we can't pick up on like you said, flirting. I'm terrible at it as well. Haven't got a clue. We can't pick up on like signals and things, and like you might think everything's happy, but they might be actually really like annoyed at you for something. It's
Yeah.
just little things like that.
Yeah.
So I imagine like being in a relationship with someone who is neurodivergent, it must be sort of easier in that respect that they understand, so then they can make adjustments and vice versa.
It's easier in that aspect, but it's also difficult
Yeah,
because we both struggle with lots of different things.
yeah,
So that can be really, really hard as well. But you just have to, like any relationship, you just have to like work at it. We're not the best at communicating with each other.
no. Oh,
But you know,
as long as you're happy, that's what matters. Like, and
yeah,
I'm sure you work things out. That you
yeah,
find your own way
exactly.
to communicate.
Exactly. Exactly.
So next, going to talk about so what you do in the present. So I know you're studying for like your PhD. I know you do a lot on Instagram, which is brilliant. So yeah, can you talk about what you're doing in the present, like your Instagram work and your PhD? Because
Yeah. So my main focus should be my PhD. It's very, very full on. I'm
yeah,
in my third of 4 years. So I've
wow,
already done 2 years. It's really long. It's a lot of reading, which I don't like, a lot
yeah,
of writing, which I don't like. But it's autism based. I'm
oh,
looking
wow.
at adult autism diagnosis,
Yeah.
getting a diagnosis, autistic traits, gender. It's like one big, massive thing split into
Yeah.
loads of little categories. And I do that Monday to Friday. My work schedule is flexible because my brain doesn't like to focus for longer than
Yeah.
10 minutes. So I
No.
do 10 minutes and then I'm like, that's it for the day. My ADHD brain just doesn't like working. So my PhD is my main focus, but Instagram mainly. I do use other social media, but
Yeah.
Instagram is like my main thing that I do as well, like a side thing.
Yeah.
So I make graphics and captions and downloadable stuff for people. I just like making things because I can be creative, but I
Yeah.
can also share information about being disabled at the same time. So it's like sharing information about myself and being disabled in a very visual way, which for me, I love visuals. So
Yeah.
it's great. That is basically what I do. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I didn't realize your PhD was all around autism and adult diagnosis. Like you
Hmm.
just like I don't want to say further in the course, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just like doing that as a passion. No, I think that's brilliant. And like again with your Instagram stuff, like I'm a big fan of visuals, and your like
Yeah.
slides and everything are just like perfect. I like bright colors. I'm a simple.
Yeah, I do. Pastel colours or bright colours,
Exactly.
things that they stand out. They're
Yeah.
educational, but they also look really nice.
Definitely. Like it's unusual I'm wearing a black t-shirt. It's just what I happen to wear today. Usually it's like
Yeah.
yellows, reds, orange.
Colour, lots of colours.
Oh, that's a brilliant t-shirt.
Yeah.
Love multicolour. So I'm trying to think how to word this question. I think. So autism, like hyperfixations are like, a key thing. Uh, Obviously not all autistic people have them, but do you have any particular interests or do they change? And what are they?
I love this. This is like info dumping.
Love a good
Yeah,
info.
I call them my focused interests.
Yeah.
Purely because in like the mainstream media and stuff, when you say it's special interests,
Yeah.
people think it's it's obsessive, it's a restricted interest,
Yeah.
and it's really like negative. So for me, I decided to like come up with the term focused because I like that. So
Yeah. It's lovely.
I was like working on my PhD and I was like, I need another way to say it. So focused interests. I have several. Some which are like fluctuating that come and go.
Yeah.
My main interest is art and sculptures.
Oh, that's a nice one.
So I like to get a mat and go outside and go look for sculptures. And I have done
Brilliant.
since I was like 5.
Yeah.
Um, which is like the one thing that I have always been interested in. It's always like there. I also really like psychology. That is another interest. Because I studied it for 5 years at this point. So I really like it. And the other thing I would say that is my main like focused interest is music. That is
Yeah.
the one thing that has always just like been there. I've always loved music because I was brought up uh in like a very musical family. My
Yeah.
mum like plays the guitar, my cousins play musical instruments, and my dad would always like play me music from a very young age. So I was brought up around that. So that
Yeah.
is something that I just love, I guess.
Oh, they all sound very creative. Like yeah, it's good to have creative interests. I think there needs
Mhm.
to be more creativity in the world. And I'd love to know, how did you get into like finding your sculptures? That sounds like a brilliant interest to have. What's your process?
So when I was 4 or 5, it was when I was really, really young.
Yeah.
My parents took me to a forest park in the Lake District.
Oh yeah.
And we went to the Lake Districts like every year on holiday.
Yeah.
And we always went to this forest park, and they have sculptures in the forest.
Yeah.
And I'd just been going every year. And as I grew older, I was just fascinated by them. So I think that was it. My parents just took me on holiday, and I still go every year. I went
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
and I still go sculpture hunting because it's just something I'm interested in. But my parents like exposed me to like
yeah.
the nature and being in the forest and being surrounded by like loads of like artwork and stuff. And that is how it was born essentially.
Oh, sounds amazing. That sounds really interesting. Lake District is a beautiful part of the world and so expansive. So I imagine you can find
Yeah,
lots of sculptures out there.
it's
But
lovely.
yeah, yeah, it's one of my favourite places to go. So you mentioned that you have your own terminology for things, which for other terms that can be perceived as quite ableist. Like you said, special interest. It seems quite restrictive. It actually brings out to the forefront that they're special, so it brings out differences. So how did you come up with your terms? What are some of your favorites, and why did you come up with them?
The only thing that, and I don't know if I came up with it, I don't know, but I
Okay,
like to say I did.
yeah.
With the focused interests, I mean, my interests are special. They are special to
Yeah,
me. But when you say to someone special interests, they do think it's negative. They think, oh,
yeah,
autistic, special interests, like restrictive behaviors, like rigid interests. And it's like, my interests aren't rigid. They're
yeah,
something that I like to fixate on that make me happy. I focus on them. So I wanted to create like a more balanced term that was more positive than, oh, special interests. It's not that they're not special.
yeah,
It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to change the narrative, I guess. And I was literally for part of my studies, I was writing a definition of what autism is.
yeah,
And I didn't want to use the autism is blah 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 blah
yeah. I can
restrictive,
understand that.
repetitive. Um, I wanted to change that to like variations and differences and
Yeah,
how your brain's wired. And while I was in the process of doing that, I spent literally a week trying to come up with this definition. And that is when I was like, oh, focused interests, because they are focused
yeah.
and they make me happy. And that is basically where it came from. I was using it as part of my studies, but I decided, oh, I like this. I will use this. And that is it. I just started using it all over like my social media and that was it.
Oh, that's brilliant. No, you definitely. I think it's definitely a more inclusive way in turning
Mm,
negative into a positive. Because I agree with you. Like some terms are definitely restrictive, and it does
mhm.
focus on the negative aspect. Whereas focused interest, it is. Like, interests are special to you, but it doesn't have to be a generic thing, and that is just something that you got to really focus interest. I lost my words then.
Yeah.
Focus interest.
I also like saying like support needs as well instead of like
Yeah,
functioning labels. So instead of saying high or low functioning, it's
yeah.
like, what are your support needs? I think that's way better as well.
Oh, definitely. I don't like that one as well. Like you said, there isn't. You shouldn't label someone as high or low function. Like, we're all equal. Just don't judge someone on whether they're non-verbal or whether they're like studying or have a job. Like autism is like a bucket of different sponges, and we each have different sponges. And I don't know why I use a sponge. Sorry about
But
that.
yeah, that is
It
true.
is.
And how I function can change
Yeah,
like depending on where I am. If I'm at home, I'm fine. If I'm at the
exactly.
shops, maybe I'm finding it more difficult. It
Yeah,
depends who you're with, where you are, what's going on.
yeah.
And it can change like every single day.
No, I completely agree that some days I'm fine, but other days I just want to like be alone and just like
Yeah.
not speak. So no, I completely agree with all of that. So what would you say are your proudest moments, the biggest achievements, and what do your disabilities contribute to your life?
Oh, this is hard.
I know it's a big one.
I'd say being diagnosed is an achievement.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long to do, and then when you finally get told, it's like, woo! I think graduating university is another thing because I never ever thought that I would do that. So
Yeah.
that is another
No,
thing.
that's a big one.
Getting married, I'd say, because I grew up not having friends or relationships, and to finally like get married, it's like it was really like alien and really weird. I can't think of anything else, but I think my disabilities and being autistic, they make me a little bit weirder.
Yeah.
I'm weird anyway, but in the sense that I'm more creative. I can be really, really like focused and enthusiastic. I'm also really like I get attached to people a
Yeah.
lot. And I think that I'm just like a really caring, nurturing person. And I think that is because I'm autistic. Um, I'm really honest. I mean, there's loads of different things that come about because I'm disabled.
No, I think it's brilliant, and I agree. I think yes, we find it difficult, but I think overall, like there's a lot of positives. I think
Mhm.
it makes us who we are, and I think we're stronger. And just because we might be a bit different, or we need support needs or adaptations that shouldn't be treated any differently, that we are who we are, and people should just not judge and just be more accepting and kinder.
I think people look at, oh, you're autistic. This is what you can't do. This is what you struggle
Yeah.
with. People never look at, oh, you're autistic. These are your strengths.
No,
It's
I
always a
completely agree with that.
negative.
Yeah, it's true. We need more positivity out there, and I think like the work you do definitely contributes to that and helps educate the wider community. I mean, just study your PhD, which is amazing for anyone, but you've
Yeah.
got disabilities and studied a PhD. I know we shouldn't focus on the disabilities part, but it's a massive achievement.
Mhm. It is, and I'm hoping to use my studies to
Yeah,
like make changes and things within diagnosis.
yeah.
So I'm studying, yeah, but I want to use what I'm doing to help autistic people as well.
Oh, I definitely believe you can do it. Like you've got the determination, you've got the passion. Like I can see you in
Mhm.
a couple of years' time. Like
I
you'll be out there changing disability. Yeah, for the positive.
hope so.
You will, Becky. So, what would your wishes be for the future? What would you like to achieve? Do you think anything needs to change to help support you and other people with disabilities?
I would like to get my PhD because
You'll get it.
it seems so far away and so out of reach. I would like to do that. Um, I think a lot of things need to change for disabled people. Um, Diagnosis is appalling. Like accessing services is appalling. The support and accommodations for autistic people and disabled people are virtually non-existent, especially for adults. There's no services for you. Once you reach like 25, it's like hello, goodbye, off you go into the world.
Yeah.
There's nothing for people. Um, Things to do with like employment and like high school and puberty. There's loads of different things that are letting autistic people down, like failing autistic
Yeah.
people. And there's loads and loads of things that we need to change. They're just like a few examples, but there's loads.
No, completely agree with you. I think especially education needs to be more inclusive. Society needs to
Mm,
be more everyone needs to be more inclusive and like
yeah,
adapt to everyone's needs and just realize that and invest in things like you said, diagnosis, not just disabilities but mental health as well. Like
yeah.
long waiting list needs absolutely changing.
Oh, yes, because that is shocking. Oh,
Oh no, I definitely agree. It is shocking. It's like it's someone's basic needs. Like just
yeah,
there's an easy solution. Like I know they all say it's without money, but you can invest.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree completely.
So thank you very much for like taking part in the podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh yeah, I want to plug some stuff.
Go for
I
it.
have new downloads available. I have 2 guides on my, I think it's Coffee. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I have a load of like downloadable stuff that I literally uploaded before I came on the podcast. So I have been working on stuff all day. So I have those.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, if you're listening to this, please go and support Vicky. Like her guides are amazing, like the resources are amazing. So where can they find you on social media?
It is at Actually Aspling, and it's the same for like all my social media.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking part. It's been lovely speaking to you. Have a good rest of your day.
It's been so amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.